All right, buckle up everyone for another deep dive. This one's a bit different.
Different how?
Well, we're going to Kenya, at least virtually. We've got, get this, 5 YouTube videos,
Yeah.
all from Kenyan entrepreneurs.
Wow, okay. All of the same topic.
Yeah, starting businesses. And I have to say, these YouTubers, super high energy, lots of great advice.
Nice. So what are we focusing on with these?
I thought it'd be cool to kind of dig through and see, like, what are the most promising opportunities they highlight.
Makes sense. But what about funding? I mean, starting a business takes money, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But that's the really interesting part. We're going to look at the best ideas, even if you're starting with, like, a really tight budget.
Okay, so Kenya, business is small budget.
Yeah.
That's a challenge.
I know, right? But trust me, these YouTubers, they're overflowing with ideas.
I hate to hear them.
Okay, so one YouTuber who really stood out to me is this guy, Good Joseph. He's got a whole system for categorizing businesses.
Oh, interesting. How does he do that?
By how fast the products sell, basically. So, like, first he talks about fast-moving necessities.
I mean, that makes sense. Things people need every day.
Right, exactly. Low investment, but they sell quickly, high turnover.
So like the essentials. Food, household goods, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and he gives some really specific examples, like a butchery.
Yeah, makes sense. People always need meat.
But then he says, combine it with selling cooking oil.
Yeah.
Smart, right? Like a one-stop shop for, like, a family's meals.
I like that. Convenient.
And he even gets into, like, savvy sourcing, like buying meat during harvest season. Prices might be lower then.
Oh, that's smart. Thinking ahead.
And get this, he even talks about maybe importing meat from, like, Uganda or Tanzania.
Interesting. So thinking regionally, not just locally.
Yeah. Okay, then he talks about general shops. Now me, I would thought go big, wholesale. But Good Joseph actually says that's a mistake a lot of people make.
Huh. Why would that be?
I think there's a whole different understanding of wholesale in the Kenyan context, something we should definitely explore more.
Yeah, agreed. Local knowledge is key.
Okay, another one that I thought was really smart was the cereal business.
Oh, yeah, good one. Stable food.
Especially maize flour, unga, that's what they use for ugali. It's like the staple food in Kenya.
So built-in demand. People need it.
Exactly. And I was thinking, it's not just selling a product, it's like tapping into this whole cultural tradition.
Makes it more than just a transaction.
Right. Okay, then of course, no deep dive into Kenyan entrepreneurship would be complete without food, like proper restaurants, food stalls.
I was going to say Kenyan food, yum.
Good Joseph is all about focusing on popular local dishes, like chakula or nyama choma.
Playing to what people already love.
Exactly. Okay, so then he moves to this other category. He calls them medium moving trends. So it's more about style, leisure.
Okay, so not just the basics anymore.
Right. Things that maybe have a higher profit margin, but maybe they don't sell as quickly.
Got it. So you need a different strategy.
Yeah, for sure. He throws out some pretty interesting ideas, though, like a cosmetic shop.
Ooh, yeah, that could be good.
And he suggests maybe combining it with a little salon.
Smart. Complementary services.
Right. Then, of course, the classic salon or barbershop.
Can't go wrong with that.
But he's strategic about it. Says location, location, location.
Yeah, got to be where the people are.
High traffic areas, near institutions, stuff like that. Okay, now this one, I was like, what? He suggests a cyber cafe.
A cyber cafe. But doesn't everyone have internet now?
That's what I thought. But he's got this twist. He says, add PlayStation, make it a gaming hub.
Oh, I see. So it's not just about internet access. It's about the social aspect, the entertainment.
Yeah, like a hangout spot.
Clever. Adapting to the times.
Right. Okay, then he talks about sneakers. Huge market, especially with young people.
For sure. Sneakers are always in style.
His tip, buy in bulk. They call them bales.
Bulk buying. Makes sense. Lower cost per unit.
And set up shop near institutions, of course. He even mentions he knows a guy who was selling these bales for like 8,000 to 10,000 Kenyan shillings.
Where was he selling them?
Gikomba Market. Okay, are you ready for his third category? This one's a little more intense. He calls it slow-moving, high profit.
Okay, so things that take longer to sell, but bigger payoff.
Yeah, and this is where we get into like construction, interior design.
Oh, wow. Okay, so more specialized.
He's really clear about this one. He says it takes patience.
Not a get-rich-quick scheme.
Not at all. You're building something, for the long term. He mentions like a cement supply business.
Cement. So targeting construction project.
Exactly. And he talks about like going directly to cement manufacturers, trying to get the best prices. He actually shares the story about how he went to one, and they told him he'd need like 400,000 Kenyan shillings just to open a wholesale account.
Whoa. Okay, that's a significant investment.
Right. Okay, then he talks about interior decor. This one was really interesting to me. He tells the story about this woman who was like killing it, selling curtains, curtain rods, like all those interior design things.
Cool. So tapping into that home improvement market.
Yeah. But what really stood out to me was what he said about like customer service and how you understand it's mainly women buying this stuff, like the gender dynamics of the market.
Oh, interesting point. Tailoring your approach.
Yeah, I thought so too. He throws out some other ideas in this category too, like an electrical business.
Electrical. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's skilled labor, but definitely in demand.
Right. Then like kitchenware, spare parts. He even has a whole separate video just on spare parts.
Oh, he really goes deep.
Oh, yeah. And then he even mentions like a small scale chemist, like a pharmacy.
Pharmacies, I mean, that's always a need.
Yeah, but he's quick to say lots of licenses. You got to be really careful with inventory.
Makes sense. Heavily regulated industry.
Okay, so just when I thought I had a grip on these categories, he drops another one. He calls it unfailing opportunities. Like, these are the sectors that are basically always in demand. And another YouTuber, Dr. Informer 254, he backs this up too.
Ooh, unfailing. I like the sound of that. What are these sectors?
We're talking land, real estate, and healthcare.
Ah, okay. Meeting those fundamental human needs. Makes sense.
With land, Good Joseph is really specific. He's like, there's a huge difference between buying land and selling it. Like, the real money is in subdividing and selling for a profit.
So it's not just about owning land, it's about developing it.
Right. He suggests buying like a bigger plot, maybe 10 to 30 acres. Then you subdivide it into smaller plots, like 50 by 100, add some value, maybe a borehole, some roads, then sell those over like 2 years.
Smart strategy. Adding value, creating a more attractive product.
Yeah. Then real estate, well, I don't think anyone's surprised to see that on the list, right?
It's classic for a reason. People always need places to live and work.
Good Joseph actually recommends starting with REITs, those real estate investment trusts. It's like a lower investment entry point.
Right, a way to dip your toes in without needing a ton of capital up front.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, then healthcare.
Another essential need. Can't go wrong there.
Good Joseph. He's like really excited about this one. He says, health. It's a universal need, right? So the market's always there. And he's not just talking about, hospitals, clinics. He even mentions like chiropractic care, like the whole spectrum.
Interesting. So seeing opportunities in both traditional and alternative healthcare.
Yeah, for sure. But here's where he gets really interesting. He's like, there's a huge untapped opportunity in mental health services.
Mental health. That's a great point. Often overlooked.
He's talking about like the rising need for counseling, stress management in Kenya. He even encourages people to consider becoming like marriage counselors or mental health advocates.
Wow, that's powerful. Addressing a real societal need.
He believes that like providing relatable information about mental health, it's a big opportunity. And Dr. Informer 254, he totally agrees. He lists pharmacies or chemists, like he calls them, as super profitable in Kenya.
Yeah, pharmacies are essential. People always need medicine.
Okay, are you ready for the last unfailing idea? This one isn't a sector, it's more like a mindset. It's that know yourself approach.
Oh, yeah. I remember you talking about that, like playing to your strengths.
He's really serious about it. He's
Yeah.
like, don't go into a business you're passionate about if you don't actually understand it.
Makes sense. Passion is great, but you need the knowledge too.
He uses this analogy, like imagine someone who knows everything about beef. Like they've worked in food production, but then they decide to start a clothing business because they like fashion.
Oh, yeah, that's probably not going to end well.
He's like, that's setting yourself up for failure. He's all about like minimizing that learning curve.
So leverage your existing skills, build on what you already know.
Exactly. Okay, now before we get into the small scale ideas, there's one more category he talks about in a different video that I think is worth mentioning. He calls them energy related businesses.
Energy. That's a big one. Definitely essential in a developing country.
He's talking about like cooking fuel, car fuel, gas refilling, all that stuff. He says these businesses, they basically never fail because the demand for energy is only going up as Kenya continues to develop.
Yeah, that's a smart observation. Meeting a fundamental need that's only going to grow.
Okay, now let's get into those bonus ideas. The ones where you can start with like 6,000 Kenyan shillings. We're talking serious resourcefulness here.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What can you do with that kind of money?
Good Joseph kicks it off with something that seems super simple, selling fruits. But he emphasizes like freshness, presentation, good customer service.
So even with a simple idea, you can stand out by focusing on quality and experience.
Exactly. Then he throws out this idea that, I gotta admit, made me hungry. He says, be a mobile Matura vendor. Matura was like a Kenyan sausage.
Oh, like street food. I love street food.
And it's all about like using what you have, maybe rent a grill, keep the costs down.
Low overhead, smart.
He's also big on selling cooked food, like chapatis and beans. Again, he emphasizes like hygiene, good service, a quality product, but at a good price.
Solid advice for any food business, really.
And of course, the classic mobile coffee vendor. Get those commuters in the morning. It's a classic for a reason.
People need their caffeine.
Okay, now, business-minded millennial, she's got some gems too. She suggests selling jewelry, going mobile, sourcing from those wholesale markets like Dubois, and targeting individuals and businesses.
Oh, I like the flexibility of that. Mobile, multiple customer bases.
Right. Then she talks about, get this, making and selling soap. She even gets into specifics like where you get the chemicals, targeting different types of customers like households, schools.
So not just making soap, but thinking about different market segments.
Yeah. And then who doesn't love home-baked goods? She recommends starting small, maybe with cakes, cupcakes, cookies, then building up from there.
Start small. Test the market. Classic advice.
And her last idea, this one's cool. She says, become a mobile nail technician. Like, go to people's homes, offices.
Bringing the service to the customer. Convenience is king.
So we've got all these ideas, right? From the ones that need some capital to the ones you can start with just a few thousand shillings. I'm telling you, the resourcefulness of these Kenyan entrepreneurs, it's amazing.
It's inspiring. They're showing what's possible with a bit of creativity and a lot of hustle.
And that's what I love about these YouTubers. They're not just giving information, they're like empowering people to take control of their own futures. What's standing out to you so far?
I'm really struck by just the sheer variety of opportunities. It's not just about copying what's already there. It's about understanding the market, finding those gaps, and creating solutions that are relevant to Kenya.
It's like they're saying, look, entrepreneurship, it's not some exclusive club. It's about solving problems, adding value, and being brave enough to take action.
Exactly. And they're not just talking. They're giving concrete advice, examples, even personal stories. Like they're making it feel real, achievable.
I know, right? It's not all about those big investments either. It's about those smaller ideas, those hustles that can turn a small amount of money into a real income.
It's about empowerment, showing people they can create their own opportunities, build something from scratch, and contribute to their communities.
And I'm really loving how they're breaking down those limiting beliefs. Like, you don't need a ton of money, you don't need a fancy degree to be an entrepreneur. They're saying if you have a skill, some passion, and you're willing to work hard, you can do it.
It's about realizing entrepreneurship isn't just about the money. It's about that resilience, that creativity, that belief in yourself. And it's about community, too, supporting each other, sharing knowledge, helping each other rise.
Okay, so as we wrap up this first part of our deep dive, I want to bring it back to you, the listener. What are you taking away from this so far? What's really resonating with you?
For me, it's that there are so many opportunities out there. And it's not just about replicating existing businesses. It's about seeing those gaps, understanding the needs, and coming up with solutions that really work for Kenya.
Like they're saying, hey, entrepreneurship isn't some fancy club. It's about solving problems, adding value, and having that courage to actually take action.
And they're not just preaching. They're giving us practical advice, real-life examples, even personal stories. They're making it feel real.
Yeah.
Achievable.
I know, right? And it's not all about those massive investments either. It's about those smaller ideas, the hustles that can take a little bit of money and turn it into a real living.
It's about showing people they have the power to create their own opportunities, to build something from nothing, and really contribute to their communities.
And I love how they're busting those myths. You don't need a ton of cash. You don't need some fancy degree to be an entrepreneur. It's about skills, passion, and hard work.
It's about realizing that entrepreneurship isn't just about profit. It's about resilience, creativity, believing in yourself. And it's about community too, supporting each other, sharing what we know, and helping each other succeed.
So as we wrap up this first part of our deep dive, I want to ask you, the listener, what are you taking away from all this? What's really sticking with you? What are you thinking about now?
I'm really struck by how diverse the opportunities are. It's not just about copying what's already out there. It's about seeing the gaps, understanding the needs, and coming up with solutions that really work for Kenya.
It's like they're saying, look, entrepreneurship isn't some exclusive club. It's about solving problems, adding value, and being brave enough to go for it.
Exactly. And they're not just talking. They're giving us practical advice, real-world examples, personal stories. They make it feel real, attainable.
And it's not all about huge investments either. It's about those smaller ideas, the hustles that can turn a small amount of money into a real livelihood.
It's about empowering people, showing them they have the power to create their own opportunities, build something from nothing, and contribute to their communities.
And I love how they shatter those myths. You don't need a ton of money or a fancy degree to be an entrepreneur. It's about skill, passion, and a willingness to work hard.
It's about understanding that entrepreneurship isn't just about profits. It's about resilience, creativity, and believing in yourself. And it's about communities supporting each other, sharing knowledge, and helping each other rise.
So, as we wrap up this first part of our deep dive, I want to ask you, the listener, what are you taking away from all this? What's sticking with you? What are you thinking about?
Well, for me, what really stands out is the sheer variety of opportunities. It's not just about copying what other businesses are doing. It's about seeing what's missing, understanding the needs in the market, and creating solutions that actually work for Kenya specifically.
Yeah, it's like they're saying, hey, being an entrepreneur isn't about being in some fancy club. It's about finding the problems and solving them, adding value where it's needed, and having the guts to just take action and do it.
Right. And they're not just talking about it. They're giving us real actionable advice, real life examples. They even share their own stories. It makes it feel like, okay, this is something I can actually do, not just some theoretical thing.
And they really drive home that it doesn't have to be about those massive investments. It's about those smaller ideas too, the hustles that can turn a little bit of money into a way to make a living.
It's about empowerment, showing people that they can make their own opportunities, build something from the ground up, and really make a difference in their community.
I also really love how they break down those limiting beliefs we all have, right? Like thinking you need tons of money or some fancy degree to be an entrepreneur. They're like, nah, it's about skills, it's about passion, it's about hard work. That's what it takes.
And they also highlight that it's not all about chasing money either. It's about that resilience, that creative spirit, and that belief in yourself. And they even talk about the importance of community, supporting each other, sharing knowledge, helping each other be successful.
So as we're wrapping up this first part of our deep dive, I want to turn it over to you, the listener. What are you getting from this? What's really resonating with you? What are you thinking about now?
What really stands out to me is the sheer variety of opportunities. It's not just about copying what others are doing. It's about seeing what's missing, understanding the needs, and creating solutions that really work for Kenya.
It's like they're saying, hey, entrepreneurship isn't about being in some fancy club. It's about finding the problems and solving them, adding value where it's needed, and having the guts to just take action and do it.
Exactly. And they're not just talking about it. They're giving us real, actionable advice, real-life examples. They even share their own stories. It makes it feel like, okay, this is something I can actually do, not just some theoretical thing.
And they really drive home that it doesn't have to be about those massive investments either. It's about those smaller ideas too, the hustles that can turn a little bit of money into a way to make a living.
It's about empowerment, showing people that they can make their own opportunities, build something from the ground up, and really make a difference in their community.
I also really love how they break down those limiting beliefs we all have, right? Like thinking you need tons of money or some fancy degree to be an entrepreneur. They're like, nah, it's about skills, it's about passion, it's about hard work. That's what it takes.
And they also highlight that it's not all about chasing money either. It's about that resilience, that creative spirit, and that belief in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And they even talk about the importance of community, supporting each other, sharing knowledge, helping each other be successful.
So as we're wrapping up this first part of our deep dive, I want to turn it over to you, the listener. What are you getting from this? What's really resonating with you? What are you thinking about now?
What I find fascinating is how they highlight the importance of understanding the local context. It's not just about having a good idea. It's about knowing the market, the culture, the needs of the people.
Right. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Yeah.
They're really emphasizing the need to adapt and tailor your business to the specific realities of Kenya.
And I love how they talk about the hustle mentality. It's not just about working hard. It's about being resourceful, creative, and finding ways to overcome challenges.
It's that entrepreneurial spirit, that drive to make things happen even when resources are limited. They really capture that essence of what it takes to succeed in Kenya.
And it's inspiring to see how they're empowering others, especially young people, to believe in themselves and take control of their own futures. It's not just about making money, it's about creating opportunities, building communities, and making a real impact.
So as we close out this first part of our deep dive, I want to leave you, the listener, with this question. What unique skills and passions do you have that could be turned into something meaningful in a place like Kenya? What problem are you drawn to solve?
Take some time to reflect on that. You might be surprised at the potential you have to make a difference. And remember, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Okay, so good, Joseph. He really doesn't hold back. He's got this video where he talks about businesses that he thinks like never fail in Kenya.
I saw that one. I mean, I'm always a little skeptical about never fail. Anything in business can be risky.
Right, of course. But I was curious, what's his reasoning?
Yeah, exactly. It's good to ground all this excitement in a bit of reality.
Okay, so he starts with this idea. It seems kind of obvious when you think about it. But the stable food market, maize, that's what they use for unga.
Oh, yeah, for ugali, that's like essential in Kenya.
Exactly. He's like, everyone eats it. So the demand is always there, massive demand.
It's about those basic needs, food security. That's a market that's never going away.
He suggests setting up like a pasha mill. That's where they process the maize into flour. He also mentions you could like wholesale the flour.
But like we talked about before, wholesaling, that's a whole other thing in Kenya, I think.
Yeah, right. We need to dig into that more.
What I found interesting was that he even talks about how the government plays a role in the maize market, like how important it is to the whole economy.
Oh, interesting. So there's a political element to it too, maybe price controls, regulations, something to keep in mind.
Yeah, for sure. And then he compares maize to other staple foods in different parts of Africa, like fufu in Nigeria, sima in Tanzania and Zambia. It's a good reminder that these basic food needs, they're everywhere. Lots of opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, if you understand the food culture, it's a good place to start.
Okay, now get ready for his next never-fail business idea, land selling. But, and this is important, he's really clear about this, it's different from land BUYing.
Ah, okay. So just buying land and hoping it goes up in value, that's not the strategy.
Exactly. He's like, don't just buy land without a plan. You got to be strategic about it, add value.
So what's his approach?
He says, buy a larger piece of land, maybe like 10 to 30 acres. Then you split it up into smaller plots, and you invest in some infrastructure, like maybe you put in a road, a borehole, a fence, things like that.
So you're making the land more appealing to buyers.
And then you sell those smaller plots over a specific time frame, maybe like 2 years. He even breaks down the numbers. Say you buy 10 acres for 4 million shillings, then spend another 2 million on those improvements. You can probably get like 75 sellable plots out of that.
Wow. Okay. And then each plot.
He says sell them for 200,000 shillings each. Over 2 years. That's a pretty good return, right?
Yeah, those are some impressive numbers. But, I mean, land in Kenya, that can't be cheap, right? How easy is it to actually acquire that much land in the first place?
He does say, real estate, it is capital intensive. But he seems to think that land is still accessible. And here's the thing. He says, even if you don't sell all those plots within that 2-year time frame, the land itself is probably going to increase in value anyway.
So it's like a built-in safety net. You're investing in something that's naturally going to appreciate.
Exactly. Okay, now the next never-fail business. This one won't be a surprise, I bet. Real estate.
Had to be on there, right?
Yeah.
People always need places to live and work.
Good, Joseph. He reminds us that real estate isn't just one thing. You've got rentals, commercial properties, you can buy, build, and sell. He even says almost everyone who becomes wealthy dabbles in real estate at some point.
It's true. Real estate, if you do it right, it can be a great way to build wealth.
He brings back that point about land being finite. As the population grows, there's more pressure on that limited resource, basic supply and demand.
Yeah, that's economics 101, right? Scarcity drives up value.
But he's realistic, too. He knows real estate takes money. That's why he suggests those REITs, real estate investment trusts, as a way to get started.
Yeah, lower barrier to entry. You can get involved without needing a huge chunk of cash up front.
Okay, ready for the next never-fail sector? Healthcare.
Another one that makes sense. As the population grows and ages, the need for healthcare is only going to increase.
Good, Joseph. He's super passionate about this one. He's like, health, it's something everyone needs. So the market's always there. And he's not just talking about, hospitals, clinics. He even talks about dispensaries, chiropractic care.
Interesting. So he's seeing opportunities across The whole healthcare spectrum, not just the traditional stuff.
Yeah, definitely. But here's where I think he gets really insightful. He sees a huge opportunity in mental health services. He talks about how in Kenya there's this growing need for counseling, for stress management.
It's true, mental health is often overlooked, especially in developing countries. It's good that he's highlighting that.
He even suggests, maybe think about becoming a marriage counselor or a mental health advocate. He thinks that providing information about mental health, making it relatable, accessible, that's a big opportunity.
Yeah, I agree. It's an important need, and it could be a good business, too.
And Dr. Informer 254, he backs him up. He lists pharmacies as like a really solid, profitable business in Kenya.
Pharmacies. Makes sense. People always need medicine.
Okay, you ready for the last never fail concept? This one's not really an industry, it's more of a mindset. It's that know yourself approach. Remember we talked about that?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like aligning your business with your actual skills and knowledge.
Good Joseph. He's like adamant about this. He warns against going into a business just because you're passionate about it if you don't actually understand it.
Yeah.
He uses this analogy. Imagine someone who's an expert in like food production. They know all about beef, right? But then they decide to start a clothing business just because they like fashion.
Yeah, recipe for disaster, probably.
Right. He's like, you're setting yourself up to fail. He says, look at your skills, your knowledge, find a business that fits. Don't try to learn everything from scratch.
Minimize that learning curve. Leverage your existing expertise. That's smart.
Okay, now, before we get to those small-scale ideas, I wanted to touch on one more category he talks about. Energy-related businesses.
Energy. Okay, yeah, that's crucial, especially in a developing economy.
He's talking about, cooking fuel, car fuel, gas refilling. He says these businesses, they almost never fail because, well, the demand for energy is only going up as Kenya develops.
Makes sense. As the country grows, they need more energy.
Right. So now let's shift gears a bit and talk about those bonus ideas, the ones where you can get started with, like 6,000 Kenyan shillings. We're talking serious resourcefulness.
Okay, I'm all ears. What can you do with that kind of money?
Good Joseph starts off with something super simple, selling fruits. But he stresses you got to focus on quality, freshness, presentation, good customer service.
So even with a simple idea, there's room to stand out.
Exactly. Then he throws out this idea that I thought was kind of funny, but also made me hungry. He says, be a mobile mutura vendor. Mutura is that Kenyan sausage we talked about earlier.
Oh, yeah, I remember. So like street food. I love street food.
And he's all about keeping the costs down. Use what you have, maybe rent a grill.
Low overhead, smart.
He's also big on selling cooked food, like chapatis, beans, simple, affordable meals. Again, he stresses good hygiene, good service, good product.
The fundamentals.
Oh, and of course, the classic mobile coffee vendor. Target those commuters in the morning. Can't go wrong with coffee.
Tried and true. People need their caffeine.
Business-minded millennial. She's got some good ones, too. She suggests selling jewelry, going mobile, sourcing from wholesale markets like Dubois, and she says target both individuals and businesses.
Smart. Diversify your customer base.
Then she suggests, get this, making and selling soap. She even gets into the details like where to get the chemicals, and she recommends targeting different types of customers, households, schools.
So thinking about your niche, your target market, that's important.
Yeah, for sure. And then she suggests home-baked goods. Who doesn't love that, right? She says start small, maybe cakes, cupcakes, cookies, build up from there.
Start small, test the market. That's always good advice.
And her last idea, I thought this one was cool. She says, be a mobile nail technician. Go to people's homes, offices.
The convenience. People are busy. That's a good angle.
So we've covered a lot, right? From ideas that need some investment to ones you can start with just a few thousand shillings. I'm just amazed by the resourcefulness of these Kenyan entrepreneurs.
It's really inspiring, isn't it? They show what you can do with a little creativity and a lot of hustle.
Right. And business-minded millennial, she has this whole other part in one of her videos. It's about managing money, especially when you're first starting out.
Ah, yeah. The financial side of things. Can't forget about that.
She really stresses like being disciplined, separate your business money from your personal money, track everything, income, expenses.
The basics, but so important.
And she's big on saving, for those rainy days, those unexpected expenses.
Building that financial cushion, essential for any business, especially a new one.
She has this great saying. She says, never despise any amount of money. It's about starting where you are, building gradually.
Love that. It's a good reminder,
Yeah.
You don't have to have a ton of money to get started.
It's about that mindset, that belief in yourself, that willingness to put in the work, even when it's tough.
And celebrate those small wins along the way.
So we've looked at all these business opportunities, these mindsets, these strategies. What are your takeaways so far? What's really standing out to you?
I think what really strikes me is like the sheer variety of those opportunities. It's not just about trying to do what someone else is already doing. It's about finding those gaps, seeing the needs, and like creating those solutions that really fit the Kenyan context.
Yeah, it's like they're saying, look, being an entrepreneur, it's not some exclusive club. It's about solving problems. It's about adding value.
Yeah,
And it's about having that courage to take action, to actually go for it.
exactly. And I love that they're not just preaching. They're giving us the practical advice, real world examples, personal stories even. They're making it feel real, achievable.
Totally. And it's not all about those big investments either. It's those smaller ideas, too, the hustles, that can turn a little money into a real livelihood.
Yeah, it's about empowering people, showing them that they can create their own opportunities, build something from nothing and really make a difference in their communities.
And I love how they're like busting those myths, like the ones we all have, thinking you need tons of money, you need a fancy degree to be an entrepreneur. They're like, no, it's about skills. It's about passion. It's about hard work. That's what it really takes.
And they make a good point about it not being all about the money either. It's about that resilience,
Yeah.
that creative spirit, that belief in yourself. And they even talk about community, the importance of supporting each other, sharing knowledge, helping each other be successful.
Okay, so we've explored all these opportunities, the mindsets, the strategies. I think it's time to bring it back to you, the listener. What are you taking away from this whole deep dive? What's resonating with you? What are you thinking about?
I'm really struck by how they emphasize the importance of really understanding the local context. It's not just about having a good idea. It's about knowing the market, the culture, the needs of the people, really getting that.
Yeah, like it's not just a one-size-fits-all approach to being an entrepreneur. You really got to adapt, tailor your business to the realities on the ground in Kenya.
And I think they really capture that hustle mentality well. It's not just about working hard. It's about being resourceful, creative, and finding ways to make things happen, even when things are tough.
That's that entrepreneurial spirit. They really nailed it. That drive to make things work even with limited resources. That's what it takes to succeed in Kenya, from what they're saying.
And it's super inspiring to see how they're empowering people, especially young people, to believe in themselves and take control of their own futures. It's not just about making money. It's about creating opportunities, building communities, and making a real impact.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you, the listener, with this. What are your unique skills, your passions? What could you turn into something meaningful in a place like Kenya? What problems are you passionate about solving?
Think about that for a bit. You might be surprised at what you could do, the potential you have to make a difference. Remember, even the longest journey, it all starts with a single step.
Kenya's full of entrepreneurial energy. Who knows? Maybe your idea is the next big thing. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Absolutely. It's been a fascinating journey. Until next time.